What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I am back with a video. This time once again, we're looking at some NBA myths surrounding one NBA legend. And today that legend happens to be Michael Jordan. And as you guys know, for the NBA media as well as fans, there's a lot of myths and false narratives surrounding Jordan and his basketball career. So with that being the case, in today's video, we're looking at the 5 biggest Michael Jordan myths and debunk them in less than 15 minutes. Now before we get into the video, if you could please very quickly like this video, leave a comment, as it helps me out greatly. And if you haven't subscribed, please make sure to do so if you like this video. Now with that being said, let's get into it. Now looking at our first Michael Jordan myth, we have the notion that he could not carry teams or that he wasn't effective when doing so. And this myth right here is widespread and pervasive in the NBA community. When it comes down to it, it's flat out false, as Jordan numerous times in his career left no doubt he could carry basketball teams. And looking to his early career, let's look at his 1988 season when he was 24 years old. This year Jordan averaged 35 points per game, 5.9 assists, 5.5 boards, 3.2 steals, 1.6 blocks on 54% shooting. And this year his Bulls team, in a stacked Eastern Conference, won 50 games and was the 3rd seed. And when looking at Jordan versus Bulls teammates, he led his team in 5 different major categories. Also in addition to that, he was the NBA's MVP as well as Defensive Player of the Year, being the best player on both ends. And looking at Jordan's teammates, he had no player average above 13 points per game. His best players included Sam Vincent, Charles Oakley, Dave Corzine, Brad Sellers, and John Paxson. As you can tell, no sidekick superstar, no all-star, and certainly no all-NBA teammate. And when it comes to advanced stats, a lot of NBA fans love looking at those metrics. So for this video, I included Jordan's win shares metrics. That year in '88, he was the NBA's leader in the following categories, that being win shares, offensive win shares average, box plus minus, offensive box plus minus, and defensive box plus minus. That one year right there proves Jordan could indeed carry teams. But even with that being the case, I'll prove it one step further. Let's look at Jordan's playoff resume during 1989. Looking at his stats once again, they're simply impeccable, averaging 34.8 points per game, 7.6 assists, 7.0 boards, 2.5 steals, 0.8 blocks on 51% shooting. On his Bulls team, he had no teammate average above 14 points per game. And when it came to the first round, he averaged 39.8 points per game, the second round, 35.7, and the Eastern Conference Finals, 29.7. I also do want to point out, Jordan in his playoff run had 2 game-winning jump shots, that being versus Cleveland as well as Detroit. And speaking of the Pistons, that's who Jordan played in the Eastern Conference Finals. Now with Jordan being pretty young, he didn't beat them that year, but he did get 2 wins off them, which is more than any other team did in that year's playoffs. And when looking at Jordan's help, I want to do one quick comparison to add some context. Looking at Jordan's supporting cast in the '89 Eastern Conference Finals versus LeBron James' supporting cast in the '07 Finals. Undoubtedly, weak supporting cast for both players, but the narrative for Jordan is very different than the narrative for LeBron James, especially for the NBA media. And also looking at how Jordan played in his series, it was far superior to LeBron James, who in his series shot under 40% from the field, only averaging 22 points per game. So looking at 1989, Jordan no doubt carried his Bulls team to the Eastern Conference Finals versus the best team in the NBA. Now to really nail this point home, I'll look at one last playoff run where Jordan this time did win the championship. That year I want to look to is 1997. Looking at Jordan's playoff stats, he averaged 31.1 points per game, 7.9 boards, 4.8 assists, 1.6 steals, 0.9 blocks on 46% shooting. For that Bulls team, he was their leader in 4 major stat categories. And looking at his roster help, he only had 1 player, that being Scottie Pippen, average above 8 points per game. And when looking at total stats for the entire playoff run, Jordan only had 10 less boards than Dennis Rodman, one of, if not the best rebounders in NBA history. And compared to Scottie Pippen, he actually had 19 more assists during that playoff run. And I do want to add one thing, Jordan this playoff run was the Bulls leader in defensive rebounds. Not Dennis Rodman, but Michael Jordan, a shooting guard. So looking at 1997, Jordan, he won a championship, and he also carried his team, being their best scorer, their best defensive rebounder, their best defensive player, their best passer, their most efficient player, as well as their most valuable player. Looking at all three examples, there's no doubt Jordan could carry teams. Look to 88, 89, as well as 97 for clear-cut proof of that. Now looking at our second myth to debunk, it's the myth that Jordan was no good without Scottie Pippen. Now once again, this myth is widespread, mainly by the NBA media. And the common thing they point to is that Jordan, before Pippen, was 1-9 in the playoffs and 0-3 in playoff series. Now for an NBA superstar, judging someone's resume, to only look at their first 3 years and judge them off that, goes to show you guys Jordan has a pretty impeccable resume. If you look at someone like LeBron James, Kobe, even Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, if you look at their first 3 years in the NBA compared to Jordan, Jordan is far more successful than them. And speaking of the 1-9 without Pippen narrative, let's debunk that pretty quickly. Scottie Pippen's first year in the NBA was 1989. That year, Pippen averaged 7.9 points per game and was the Bulls' 6th best player. He wasn't first-team All-NBA, All-Defense, and he certainly wasn't Rookie of the Year. Scottie Pippen at that point in his career was a bona fide role player. Look at Jordan and Pippen's first 2 playoff runs in 88 as well as 89. Jordan averaged 35, 7, and 6 with 2.4 steals on 52% shooting. Scottie, once again a role player, averaged 12, 7, and 3 with 1 steal on 46% shooting. Once again, Scottie was a role player for those Bulls teams. In 88 and 89, he wasn't the main reason the Bulls won any playoff series. The main reason was due to Michael Jeffrey Jordan. And to nail that point home, here's Jordan and Pippen's 5 playoff series ranked by scoring in their first 2 years together. Jordan averaged 45.2 points per game, 39.8, 35.7, 29.7, and 27.4. Scottie Pippen averaged much less. Now I do want to be very clear, Scottie Pippen eventually will be an all-star as well as a superstar. And for a quick side tangent, I want to make one thing very clear. Basketball at the end of the day, it is a team game. Yes, superstars can have an immense impact, but you need a team to win championships. And for any player in NBA history, the greatest players of all time, they need help. Jordan needed Pippen, Kobe needed Shaq, Gasol, LeBron needed Kyrie, Wade, Anthony Davis, Magic needed Kareem, Bird needed McHale. You can look at any NBA superstar and they needed teammate help to win a championship. It's a fact and the simple reality of basketball as well as team sports. Now looking at our third Michael Jordan myth is one I see a lot from younger NBA fans. That being that Jordan was only a great scorer and not a great all-around player. Once again, that notion is simply not true, as Jordan in his playing days was a great player on both ends of the floor. Looking at his resume, he's a 9-time All-Defensive First-Team player, a 3-time steals leader, he has the most 200 steal, 100 block seasons, he's second all-time for blocks for a shooting guard. In 1989, he averaged 8.0 assists, had 7 straight triple-doubles, and 15 total for the season. In 1991, he averaged an NBA Finals record 11.4 assists for a non-point guard. And when looking at his Bulls team, he was a leader in assists 8 times when it came to playoffs. And compared to Pippen, he had a higher assist average when it came to the NBA Finals. Now moving on, with the fourth Jordan myth, that's a myth that he didn't play good competition in the 1990s. Of course, that narrative is simply false and easily debunked. When looking at Jordan's 90s opponents in the East, he had teams like Ewing's Knicks, he had Mark Price's Cavs, he had Shaq's Magic, Tim Hardaway's Heat, Larry Johnson's Hornets, Charles Barkley's Sixers, Reggie Miller's Pacers, even Dikembe's Hawks. But saying those teams' names doesn't give an accurate picture of how tough his opponents were. So one thing I'll do, as always, I'll pull up the stats. When looking through NBA history, the toughest championship runs, Jordan is responsible for 4 out of the top 15 on that list. Ranked by opponent's win percentage, the 97 Bulls come in at 2nd, the 93 Bulls at 5th, the 98 Bulls at 10th, the 96 Bulls at 14th. Out of the toughest championships ever, the Bulls have the most appearances in the top 15 as well as the top 10. And if you go by championship run, it's also equally as impressive. Looking at the 91 Bulls, they beat 250-win teams, the 92 Bulls beat 350-win teams, the 93 Bulls beat 260-win teams, 96 they beat 260-win teams, 97 355-win teams, the 98 Bulls once again 350-win teams. In all 6 championship runs, the Bulls played adequate and above average talent in the Eastern Conference as well as the NBA Finals. And compared to other NBA legends, Jordan's competition is up there with the best of all time. When looking at 50-win teams beat, Jordan comes in second, only behind Kobe, who played in the stacked Western Conference. Looking at 60-win teams, Jordan beat 7 of those, all in the 1990s. That is the most in NBA history for a single player in their careers. Now, looking at our 5th and final Jordan myth, we have the notion that he quote-unquote couldn't play in the modern NBA. Once again, this myth is easily debunked, as Jordan in the 21st century was pretty effective on the Washington Wizards. And what I want to look to is the 2002 season, and specifically before Jordan's major knee injury. Looking at that 46-game sample size, once again, pre-injury, Jordan was averaging 25.1 points per game, 6.2 boards, 5.3 assists, 1.5 steals, on 42% shooting. During that same time period, there's only one other player who averaged 25, 5, and 5, that being a prime Tracy McGrady. And looking at Jordan's last 10 games before injury, his stats are even more impressive, averaging 29.7 points per game, 6.6 boards, 6.1 assists, 1.2 steals, on very impressive 47% shooting. So once again, Jordan past his prime, dealing with knee problems, tendonitis, back problems, still dominated at age 38. And looking more in depth, Jordan has some pretty impressive feats with the Wizards. At age 38, he had the highest scoring average in NBA history. That very same year, he was the NBA's leader in mid-range field goals made, while also being 11th in fourth quarter scoring. That same season, he had 5 games of 40-plus points, which is 3rd among shooting guards. Also in Washington, he scored 50 points while being 40 years old. And in 2003, he averaged 25 and 5, becoming the oldest player ever to put up that stat line this season. So that right there was the final Jordan myth debunked in less than 15 minutes. As always, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.